Amy Masters, and today I'm coming live on a little bit different level. So I just did 3 in-salon workshops, and I noticed that there was some stuff that was just common stuff that you don't think that is a big deal or create a big thing. But what happens is this little thing and all these compilations of little things turn into very big things. And it's been a while since I've been live talking about it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I think it needs to be revisited. Hello, Michelle. Thanks for joining in. So today it's called The Little Things That Become the Big Things, and it's all just basic stuff that's in our salon, whether you're in a big salon or a home studio. And so I'm just going to kind of quickly continue to go through this little bit of a list. And if you have any questions, please ask them as we go. And then when I'm done, I'll go back and answer those questions for you because there's quite a bit to go through. So as you can tell, I'm having to do this from my kitchen. And the reason why is because I have a pile of products over my entire island. And it's going to be worth it though. So let's get started. Number 1. When a client very first comes in, we have to just be as prepared with our hand sanitation and our cleanliness as we expect our clients. One, we know that there's a lot of germs that go around this time of the year, but also it's so that we, as we work on them, don't put oil onto them. So maybe they've taken the proper steps and we have not. So I always have my clients go in and wash their hands. Then right after that, I'm in washing my hands too. But what happens is sometimes the soap in the bathroom, and I'm not downing any brand, okay? I'm not promoting a brand, I'm not downing a brand, so please understand that. In fact, I'll just cover it like this. Most of the time, the soaps have moisturizers in them. So the very first thing that our client is doing is they think they're going in to remove all the extra soap oil and sanitize their hands. But what's happened is they're actually depositing the wet from the moisture of hand washing, which is temporarily can alter the nail, and then it takes just a few minutes for that to dehydrate out. But with moisturizers, it takes longer. So by the time we're already into the prep of their nails, we still have moisturizer on them. So to fix that, you can make your own, okay? This is one of those foam, let's see if I can do this. It comes out like foam, and I've just reused it, okay? So this is how I make my own soap, and it costs me like literally less than pennies, because we know that we can buy Dawn dish soap, which is non-moisturizing. Its purpose is to remove grease and buildup. I take and reuse these. I put in, oh my gosh, a very tiny amount of Dawn soap, about that much. Fill the rest with water. And I have non-moisturizing hand soap that will degrease and clean all in one. So, and it smells good. Okay, so there's one step. So your client goes and washes their hands and dries them thoroughly. Then I go and wash my hands, dry them thoroughly. Then we sit at the desk. Now that didn't sanitize their hands. That just washed off the stuff that was on their hands. So then they come sit at our desk, and sometimes we pull out some fancy, like I said, I'm not going to name brand here. You'll pull that out, moisturizers in it, okay? Or you think you're doing really good and you go buy like an industrial one, hand sanitizer gel. But guess what? See this little aloe plant on the side? This has aloe and vitamin E moisturizers in it. So now you just got their hands where it doesn't have any moisturizer on it, and you turn around and hand sanitize it, and now you have moisturizer back on your nails. You just have a vitamin E or an aloe. So it's important to know your ingredients. And so for instance, with this brand, I can tell you it's alcohol and water. That's it. There's no moisturizer in this. It's a spray, smells good, it has a fragrance to it. You can just spray it onto your hands and your client's hands and wipe them up, and then you have it sanitized and a pleasant odor to start off with without additional moisturizers, because moisturizers are the #1 thing that creates lifting in any nail enhancement that you do. And sometimes it's from the very, very beginning of what you're using. So that's the step that they're finally at your desk. you should be sanitized, you're ready to go. Now it's time to come in with acetone and start the cleansing process. But sometimes people don't realize the acetone comes in different levels. So for instance, this is a nail polish remover with protein enriched and moisturizers. So sometimes then we're sitting there removing their old polish, or we're using this as prep. Like I know I use acetone as prep in the very beginning to remove any additional oil that might be in the sidewalls and the cuticle of the nail. And that is the third beginning step of any nail service. And sometimes again, you're adding additional moisturizers, which the moisturizers are going to continue to keep that nail extra hydrated. And as you're working on it, you're not going to get the etch. You're not going to get the oil-free surface that you need to when you're working on the nail. So really what you want to look for is 100% acetone. I look at the back, that's all this is, acetone. There's no water, there's no extra things in it, 100% acetone. That ensures that there's no oil in there. Sometimes people will use alcohol to do it. Sometimes the alcohol might be, let's say, 50% or 75% isopropyl alcohol, which is fine. However, those also have water or sometimes moisturizers to it, depending what its purpose is. I prefer to use 91%. You can also get up to 99% isopropyl alcohol. The rest of that is just water, no moisturizers. Or if you want to not worry about the difference between your acetones, your alcohols, and all of that, you can go straight into something like Light Elegance. This is using the best of alcohol and acetone, and with no fragrances, no extras in there. And so you can make your own, or you could purchase something like that. Of course, when we have something like this sitting on our shelf and we go to grab our wipe, and you're dumping it over, or you keep the jar over while you're using it, alcohol and acetone evaporate very fast. So then you have product loss. So it's worth it to buy some sort of, Menda pump, or you can buy, a container like this that holds it so it does not evaporate out, doesn't get any settlements back into the container. Because let's say you did use this and you have a cotton ball and you go like this and you go back down. Some of the fibers of that cotton ball is going to get in here, and sooner or later you're going to end up with settlement at the bottom of your container. So even though that it's alcohol or acetone or something that has these properties in it to keep it sanitized, doesn't mean that you're still not contaminating it. So it's important to be able to know that as well. So the next step in the nail service after we've cleaned them off is that we get into our files. If you are in a state where you can reuse files and sanitize them, then great, go for it. I'm in a state where I cannot, not even allowed. If our state board inspector comes in and sees even a line, like, let's see if I can do this. If he can see that on our file, we are in trouble. That means that it has been used. Even if we used it as a seasoning file for the other files, and that file is in with our other files, we get in trouble. Trust me, I have a nail tech that knows that very well. So in the state of Wyoming, I can tell you I love these files, but I have to throw them away after every single client, even though these are known that they can be sanitizable in some states. So I use individually wrapped files so that there's no question to my clients that I'm reusing a file on them. But here's what happens when you reuse a file. Now forgive, I just used a file. You notice how it tends to change the coloring on it, and you start to lose the grit that goes with that. That means that that file and the core of that file has started absorbing the oil that's on the client's nails and on your hands. Then you're taking it from one client and using it on another. Even if you're in a state where you can reuse the file, maybe you put it in a baggie and you reuse it, this is holding moisture, it's holding oils, and then you're redepositing it onto the next service, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks later. And so buffers are the same way. You can see when you have the used buffer, I could sit there and try to clean it off and sanitize it, but they're still absorbing the same oil. Sometimes it's just touching the skin, or it comes from our hands. So it's important that when in the state that I'm in, that we do not reuse the files. That way you're ensuring that you're not, cross-contaminating from one client to another, but you're also getting the best service out of that file, because I can tell you it's nice to be able to use one file for all 10 nails and not like grab a file, do a couple nails, oh, it's kind of dull, or it's not giving me the etching that I need. In fact, it's making it look shinier. It's from the oils and the moisturizers that it's absorbed. Okay, then we go on and we clean with a lint-free pad. And so here's what happens. If you can take this is known as a lint-free pad, okay? It's kind of gauzy. If you can go through and you can peel any fibers off of that is going onto the nail. That is not completely lint-free. And when you're scrubbing on a nail, we tend to use this for multiple ones. In fact, it just kind of went onto my counter. It goes from multiple ones. You are depositing now the lint onto there. So you have oil and lint going onto the nail. And sometimes in some of the applications, you guys know I like to use makeup wedges. They're truly lint-free, but sometimes these come with moisturizers in them as well. So make sure if you do something that it has no vitamin E, no moisturizers and any of that in it, nothing infused, and that it really is lint-free. So here's an example of one that is lint-free. Okay, I can sit here and I can pull and pull and pull and pull and pull and pull. And I'm not gonna get any at all lint on there. So you can continue to use this and be lint-free. So there's a reason that could create lifting as well. Okay, another thing that I noticed at one of the last salons that I just went to when I was teaching is that, they had nail brushes, but they were like those really nice barber like shaving lathering brushes. I mean, super nice. They had them hung up in their lamps. They had them just hanging around in their drawer, and they pull it out and they're reusing it from client to client. Another thing, just like the file, that could be pulling oil off and debris off that maybe is microscopic, and you're sitting it in a drawer, you're hanging it on your lamp, and when you do that, the additional dust filing from the rest of the surfaces is being attracted to that as well. And then you pull it down and you use it on that client again. It's important to use ones that you can sanitize. I use Cavicide to sanitize, so wash this with hot soapy water at the end of the day. I have enough to get through all of my clients. I throw it in there for the recommended time. In fact, I sometimes leave them in there overnight, come in, rinse them off, and let them thoroughly dry. So even if you are using those other brushes, don't use them without sanitizing them in between each client, or get enough that by the end of the day you can wash them all at the same time, and then you can dry them all thoroughly and sanitize them before you use them on the next client, because this is another source. Like, you could go through all the steps to get into where you're completely oil free and avoiding what you think is going to cause lifting, and then this, just before you put your product application on, you get off the dust and you just turn around and sabotage yourself, is what I call it. So another thing that happens is we're not educated enough on oil. Okay, oil itself, that it comes in the products and in our beauty products. So for instance, at the very end of the service, you've done, so well, and you have no oil, nothing else that, your prep was right on, your application was right on, and at the end, your art, everything was right on. And hopefully your client didn't have naughty hands, because you know what I mean? Like the hands on the lamp for 30 seconds, but it takes you a minute to do this hand. So the light goes off, and all of a sudden this hand's free for 30 seconds. I call it getting naughty. They need to do this, or they scratch themselves, they pull up their sleeve, they sit like this, and yet they don't realize the ends of the fingers are touching the fibers onto their shirt. They're reaching for something or their phone. They're naughty. So what I do sometimes will actually leave their hand in there for the entire minute. I keep the lamp on for 1 minute, even though the recommended cure time is 30 seconds. That way I know for a fact that that hand's not getting naughty and not touching anything, because I can create a lot of other problems. So let's say they've gone through the entire nail service and they've, you've done good. There's no oil that you know of, that has come in contact with it. And now it's time at the end to give them some lotion. So obviously you get some really cute little lotions like this. First ingredient, water, which is wonderful. Second ingredient, mineral oil. Then it goes into glycol and lanolin. And then it goes on to a lot I can't pronounce, a lot of colorants, a lot of fragrance, and all of that. Okay, which is fine. Smells like fresh peach. Okay, two of the things. One, I love the idea that it was water based. That means you could go wash your hands thoroughly with something like this and you could get it off completely, okay? But the second ingredient in this is mineral oil. Mineral oil, the molecules are too large for your body to absorb. Think about the earth, okay? So if you go through all the levels, do you know where mineral oil comes in? And I'm not an engineer or any scientist like that, but there's a layer in our earth that is nothing but oil. Our earth cannot absorb it, and it's not light enough to rise up to the top and lay as a layer on top of our fields. It's a layer that sits down underneath, that's way down deep, and that is mineral oil. The molecules of mineral oil are very, very large. It is a great skin softener. That's why a lot of times when you see lotions and hair care products and all of that that say skin softeners, if you look at it, it might have lanolin or mineral oil in it, because it sits up on top and is like a protector. But what is actually soaking in and actually healing? So you'll notice that it will say softener, but it doesn't say that it's a healing one. And then lanolin is the same thing. Do you know where lanolin comes from? Sheep. So lanolin is so there's the skin of the sheep. Like I said, I'm not a scientist. I don't know all the technical terms for that. The skin, and then there's a layer of lanolin, and then there's all of their fur and everything like that. And it's to protect them from the weather. And so when they go and shear the sheep, there's lanolin that comes with that, okay? Lanolin, again, the molecules are too large to be absorbed. It's a skin protector. So therefore it sets on top. It's very hard to wash it off. It's very thick, just as mineral oil is, and therefore you would have to have multiple hand washings to be able to get that off. So when a client comes in and they start using, let's say sometimes what happens is they have the soap and you have your lotion sitting in the bathroom. They use your restroom. They use some moisturizing soap, they throw on a little bit of lotion, and they go sit at your desk. Then you use some sort of a sanitizer that you think is good but has moisturizers in it, and then now you're trying to dehydrate the nail. You're not going to get it accomplished when there's already so many layers of mineral oil, lanolins, other moisturizers, aloes, vitamin E, and everything out there that's hydrating and setting up on the nail. It's going to be harder to etch it. So some people think that they have to go to a heavier grit file, and that's not what it is. What you need to do is go back to the basics in the beginning of the prep and go through the right ingredients to make sure that what you have on your beauty bar is proper. Now at home it's different. On that home, they're not worried about temporarily dehydrating the nail to get the enhancement. At home, they can use what they want. So what I recommend is in my bathroom, I only have this soap in there. Okay, there's no lotion. And on many clients, like today, this just happened. That's what kind of inspired me to do this as well. It's just like, oh, my hands are so dry, Amy, can I please have some lotion? I go, yeah, at the end of your nail service, you can. I will pamper you and hydrate you all you want. But at this time, I need to not have oil on your nail so that I can ensure proper adhesion of what we're gonna do on you today. And she's like, I know, but just a little bit. And I said, nope, because that little bit on you that might not get on the nails, I touch your hand. That means it gets on me, and then I touch your nails. It's a cycle. So what you want to do is pick a lotion that has all natural oils in it. You still want it water-based, which aqua, and then they used glycerin and then you can go through and see all the seed oils that they use, all natural oils. There's no mineral oil, there's no lanolin. And I actually did do a training with Light Elegance on this, and they talked about some of the differences of oils and which ones are better for like massage and stuff like that. And so sunflower seed oil came up, which was interesting because I never thought about it. A lot of them will use like an almond or some sort of a nut oil. Well, if you have a nut allergy and you are getting a massage with nut oil, you can have an allergy to that. And so it's important to really know and consult with your clients about, any illnesses that they may have to prevent some of the things that you use on them as well. So that's kind of a double thing going on there. Anyways, make sure that you educate your clients. They can still use lotions like this, but what I would do is have them use an oil or a lotion that's healing, that's going to soak in, and then wait a few minutes, then put something that is a sealant and a protector on top of that. Then as you go through the day and things start dehydrating out of your hands, it's going to last a lot longer for the original properties that it's used for in healing. Oils, again, come the same thing. This is all natural oil. I can't kind of read all the ingredients, but again, an all natural oil. Now here's some of the pros and cons. An all natural oil, make sure you buy what you can use within that 6 months to a year. Because if you start buying in a big bulk like this of an oil and you don't use it within that time, oil goes rancid and it smells awful. And I know that if you are a cook at all, you know what I mean about an oil, like maybe a vegetable oil or canola oil or something that is sat in your cabinet, and all of a sudden you open it one day, or castor oil is one of them that gets really bad. You open it and it smells so bad. Throw it away. You don't want to smell like that, and you don't want to ingest that. And so therefore, make sure that you buy in a quantity that you're going to use. So what I do is I have the minis, my clients come in, and so that I know that they're using a good cuticle oil and they're using it, I get the pump so that I can refill their cuticle oil so that they can save money. And then I know that I'm going through my oil fast enough as well, and then I'm saving money because I can buy in bulk. But there's no mineral oil in them, and there's no lanolin oil in them. All right, so that covers like common products that we don't think about where oil can stay and create, sometimes, the oil is going to attract bacteria. Sometimes it stays on the skin and we can't get it dehydrated off of the nail, and it creates other issues. Sometimes it's like I mentioned, those little things that later on you don't realize how many times before the service, before you're even starting on their nail service, that they have been in contact with so many of these oils, and then we got to try to dehydrate that off. So you can control that. Just continue to get educated on the products that you're using, what the ingredients are. Another thing that's kind of interesting is they talk about expiration dates, and a lot of things, especially if they're international, you're going to see like a little can at the bottom. This will be backwards to you, and there's a number in there. And so that means the expiration date on this is 36 months. Now, some of the things I kind of wonder. So I'm going to show you something that's not oil-based, but an example of what I do. This is when I did acrylics, okay? And I bought this just to do an acrylic class, to be honest with you, and it was on a big sale, so I bought a big amount. So I date them when I get them, but the expiration date on this is 30 months, okay? So does that mean it expires from the day I bought it? Because how many months did this sit on the shelf at the beauty supply store? Or does it mean that it expires once I open it? So there's always that question, and then you'll see on food like best used by, but once again, you don't know how long it sat on the shelf. When was it actually created? And is there really an expiration date? Because sometimes the problem with expiration dates is a product doesn't expire. The colorant that they used or the fragrance that they used in the product is what expires. So the product might still be good. So it's important that you buy from manufacturers and distributors that you know that you can call them and say their SKUs. I mean, look at all the SKUs on all of these packagings. Of course, this one doesn't have it because I had bought it in a big bulk thing. There's SKUs, okay? So when you call the company and you say, hey, I just bought this and I notice it says a 30-month expiration date, they can tell you exactly when that product was made. And then from the time you purchased it to the time that they delivered it to the distributorship, how long it stayed on that shelf. They're going to be honest with you because they want you to use their product. They're going to be honest with you and say, you know what, you can use that well past that expiration date. Or they're going to say, you know what, this is a reason why on that particular item, we really do not want to use it after that. Maybe the solvents start to separate and then you're having to alter it and add in more bases or something like into gel polishes and stuff like that, and which is my next video that I will be doing, is how to care for your gel polish, how to know when it goes bad and all of that. So thanks for joining in today. Hopefully this was educational enough for you to go look in the ingredients of the items that are on your back bar. Look and make sure that you're following the regulations of the clients coming in and truly hand washing, sanitizing their hands before you even start the surface on them. And then every step of the way through your prep, the file, the brush, and everything is completely oil free, because those are those steps. Sometimes I'll troubleshoot with people and we'll go through everything and I'll have them go live with me and I cannot at all see why they would have lifting. And then I start asking these details. Let's talk about before your client comes in. When they first come into your salon and they sit down at the table, what are those first steps? And one of the ladies, I'm not saying names, she might be in one of these groups, the very first thing she did was have her clients do a nice paraffin dip. She would have them wash their hands, do a scrub, go do a paraffin, because that's part of a manicure, right? Then she would do their cuticle work and then she would do the enhancement. Never thinking that the oil from the paraffin and the time that it sat in the nail was moisturizing the nail, which is fabulous, but it was depositing oil to the top that she could not dehydrate. And by the time she'd go live with me and we were on the prep, everything else looked fine. So she's quit doing that at the beginning of the service and started adding that to the very end of the service. So you can still offer all these moisturizing, great, ways to hydrate, but just know when to put it into their service. So again, I'm Amy Masters. I do online workshops with thenailsource.biz if you want more of that. You can always private message me because you guys know that I'm always here to answer any questions that you may have. However, I might put you on the spot and make you go live, because that's the best way for me to see as well, is to be able to watch you work just like you watch me work. So thanks for joining me live today and have a great day.